We have 75,000 tonne of ground coffee going to landfill every single year in Australia. It is the single worst material to end in landfill. It has to be a priority. It must be done.
Climate is going to kill coffee. Is it specialty if it's not upcycled?
Ooh. What I love about sustainability is what I love about hospitality and coffee is people. This is community action, right? Sustainability is a lens that you're operating your business from.
You got to innovate because you just got to not accept that that's the norm from the beginning to the end.
Yes.
And the end hasn't been completed. The end is Reground.
Yeah.
That's the last part of the puzzle to do the full circle.
Yeah.
The system around coffee needs to change to be sustainable, and I'm working on that.
We are working on that by giving a puck.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Running solo as host this week. Rowan is out on the road doing some fancy social media filming, I think. So I'm here by myself. No, I'm not by myself. I'm being joined by two amazing guests. This week, I really wanted to talk about a word that it just seems like it's plastered over everything, but I don't know if I really know what it means or other people know what it means, and sustainability. Yes, it is the buzzword of the last few years. And I think that a lot of us in the coffee industry, we go, I kind of know a bit about it and I want to be a good person. But how do I actually do anything? And so today I've been invited along two amazing guests to join us and help us talk about this idea. So first of all, we have Ninna Larsen, the the founding director of Reground. Welcome along, Ninna.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And we are also joined by Dion Cohen, the co-founder of the iconic Single O roastery and cafés that are based around Australia. Thank you for joining us, Dion.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And my name is Ben Bicknell. I judge people, but only when they're doing competitions coming up at the World Barista Championships. And this is It's Just Coffee. You didn't join in there, guys.
No.
Oh, we didn't know to join in. If you'd given us the warning before, we could have joined in. That's even better.
Don't go anywhere. We're going to have a quick word from one of our sponsors, Apax Lab. Elevate your coffee experience with Apax Lab mineral concentrates. Apax Lab's precision-engineered formulas, including tonic, jam, and lilac, are designed to enhance the coffee's natural flavors. Not going to change it, it's just going to enhance it. It's going to bring out the vibrant acidity, the rich sweetness, or if you use lilac, it might bring out those delicate floral notes that you've been looking for. Trusted by world-class cafes and even barista champions, Apax Lab helps you unlock your coffee's full potential. Discover more at apaxlab.com. Wait, where was that again, Sonam?
The internet.
Oh, okay. Thought I was going to say the website. Thanks.
We're going to talk about sustainability. I'm also keen to talk a little bit about the waste in coffee and what do we do about that, or what is the kind of the important wastes. Sustainability can often be a bit of a dry, serious conversation. But what's exciting you two about what's happening in the world of sustainability at the moment?
So for me, 11 years. In fact, I've done sustainability for more than 11 years. Reground has been around and it's been very fun. So for me, sustainability is definitely not dry.
Sorry, my apologies.
But I can appreciate that that is an issue and a perspective that we have to overcome because it's actually super interesting and it's very meaningful, both for our businesses, but also for the planet, our communities. But I think, so it's fair criticism that sustainability is dry because I think it's been communicated by people that have not met their audiences where they're at. So traditionally, we've heard from people talking about sustainability as rules. They've been dressed in suits, not really been meeting our hospitality sector at their level. Or it's been communicated by people that are sort of in gardens, coming out of compost bins, been also unrelatable in a way. So why is it dry is because it's not humanized in an appropriate way, I think. And I think we're taking that.
Trying to humanize that.
Yeah.
You said it's been fun. You find it fun.
I find it really fun.
What's fun about it for you?
She likes worms.
Yeah.
Garden worms.
She's grown
out of the compost bin.
I have many compost bins at home and I'm around a lot of compost. But honestly, what I love about sustainability is what I love about hospitality and coffee is people. It's a big community-oriented sort of topic. And a lot of people want to talk about it. They want to actually engage with with the subject, it's hard because it's a lot of things. But that's why I think it's fun, because it's good conversations and it's like deep and meaningful conversations.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, and it kind of comes back to like, I guess what we're talking about with Single O having implemented a lot of sustainability practices, that you guys are just getting down to the business of it. You're just like making it happen.
Well, we like to make, I think we have 6 values in Single O, and one of the things is know your shit, do good, and one of the things make it happen. So it's the ethos of Single O. We started 2003. Cool. That's who we are, right? And we sort of bred like that. My wife and I, and the culture of the company has always been about, if you're going to do something, do it well, do it good, do it for the good of the planet. That's just who we sort of believed, what we believe in. And sometimes, we've made decisions over time that it's like, why the hell did we do that? So it has financial implications. Obviously the biggest thing is would raise would be, we've never branded a coffee cup with our logo on it, single use.
Which is a big thing in the Australian market in particular, isn't it? Where like the brand gets plastered out on cups and umbrellas. And
we were the brand that went out with a silver bag with no brand. And today we're an art, creative, innovative company that sort of stands for sustainability and ethical sourcing and, obviously that whole farmer situation. But the single-use cup thing has obviously been a big issue in our world. Obviously, not a financial decision that was the smartest financial decision. People sell a lot of cups, but we sort of felt that. I used to walk down the road and just see branded coffee cups in the gutter, and I didn't want to be part of that stream. If you want to talk about waste stream. There is a waste stream, right? So, that's, we created the juggler because we didn't like plastic milk bottles on people's desks and it was plastic, right?
Just to fill in the folks who are listening who might not be familiar with Single O, can you give us a little bit of an outline of what's the business like at the moment in terms of, you've got the roastery, you're doing a lot of wholesale.
A cafe in Surrey Hills, which is the lifeblood of where it started. The OG, you've been there many times. And we have a roastery in Botany. We supply wholesale coffee around the country, predominantly New South Wales, Victoria, Tasmania, and various other places. We have a roastery in Japan and Tokyo, and we have 5 espresso bowls or cafes in Japan, which 2 have been recently opened in the last 18 months. And we supply coffee to very high-end, quality-driven establishments that we believe do a great job in how they service their clients.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting as well, because I was coming into coffee right around the same time as Single O launched. And I remember, that was in the early 2000s, 2003 you were established. The movement and the passion of the subculture then was different to now. I think, there was that inherent belief in that specialty coffee movement in the early days, that we were really produce and product focused, because in Australia that was coming off the imported Italian.
Absolutely.
No one knew what was in a blend. No one would talk about it. And suddenly we're like, taste this. This is what we did with it.
Yeah, this was about single origins and hence single origin coffee or single origin roasters, which is what we called ourselves, right?
Yeah.
We started the ride of the single origin coffee, and this is what you get in your product. This is where it comes from. Now it's, I guess it's made some amazing single origin coffees out there and people doing great jobs. So,
I still remember going into the Surrey Hills Cafe. I was mentioning this and sitting down. I don't know if you ever saw it in the early days, Ninna, but it was a tiny, tiny location, right? And they had a roaster in there. So you'd be like sitting down and like this distance between us, you'd have this huge roast just drop next to your head. Like, I don't know if occupational health and safety.
There was no occupational health and safety in those days. I think times have changed since then, mate. Did it how it was, right?
No, it was great.
It was a great theatre and it was great passion. So.
And the energy there as well. I remember sitting down and visiting, I was living on the other side of the country and you'd sit down and, if they're like, oh, this guy's in coffee. Okay, we'll do this. And they just like get this cup of coffee and just put it down in front of you and say, check that shit out. And it'd be like some amazing new single origin, like super freshly roasted, it's like 2 days off roast or something, crema just overflowing. But that enthusiasm for it was...
That was the good old days.
Oh, yeah. It was good energy. And Ninna, again, for folks who might not be familiar with the Reground model, you're a social enterprise, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
What do you do? What do you do?
What do we do? So Reground is as you say, a social enterprise. We started back in 2014 collecting coffee grounds from the cafe that I was working at. And that laid the foundations for the Reground model, single stream collection of coffee grounds, which we are still doing today. So the same model has stood the test of time, but we have evolved. So all our coffee go into community gardens or home gardens free of charge. This is a social service as much as this is an environmental service. But I think with any business, we're evolving and we're seeing problems, and we have a strong why and strong values at Reground as well. So over time, we've found ways to deliver on that purpose. So we now do a lot of work with corporates, governments, local councils, and to address the source. Why are we wasting in the first place? Can we minimize? Can we avoid? But the coffee model is still the heart and the soul, and it really is how we are in front of our community, because we're in cafes every day, we're in gardens every day.
Yep.
So that closeness to community is critical.
So the model is essentially a cafe would kind of reach out and say, we want to use your service.
Yep.
You provide them like a little wheelie bin to put grinds in and
correct.
some non-contaminated paper material, right? Like filter papers?
Yeah, we'll accept some of that. Yeah.
But not too much other stuff.
Mainly
So
coffee grounds.
grinds,
Yeah.
yep. So grinds go in from your knock tube,
That's
or
correct.
pretty much the knock tube. And then you come and collect those in your van on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So
That is exactly right.
Yep.
And I think it's very important to maybe highlight that this service I was designing that when I was working as a barista. This is a better way to dispose of coffee grounds. It's already in your knock box. You just lift that instead of putting that in plastic bags, creating more waste, and emptying it into the Reground bin. And so we focus on the baristas. We focus on the people that are essentially creating a lot of waste every single day. And our team drives electric vehicles, rock up to the cafes in the middle of the day, not in the middle of the night. We are visible. They can talk to us. We talk to them. And that storytelling around what are we actually doing? Because we are niche, just like specialty coffee. We're like a specialty service. And so that storytelling that is so profound and special about what the coffee sector has done, really, in propelling coffee into mainstream, right? That is what we are trying to do with the sustainability bit of coffee.
yeah.
But that model is all about humans, humanizing.
Also trying to help, the carbon emissions of the climate. And I think it was like 30% of your emissions is based on spent coffee grounds.
Yeah. Oh, really? That's
The
stats.
roaster.
As a roaster, you'll spend coffee grounds or 30% of your emissions. So, you're selling coffee, you're sourcing coffee, which is about 32% of your emissions.
Yep.
And that's, we can't control getting coffee from South America, Central America, or Africa. We live in Australia. So you got to accept that.
But the emissions actually aren't that huge, are they, in terms of when you look at the transport costs?
No, that's what I'm saying is the transport cost in relation to that, right? But when you then roast it, brew it, and we take such specialty care in the craft and then presenting it to a customer who then sells it for 5, 6, 7, whatever the case may be in this current climate or wherever you are, and 30% of those are the emissions, which is spent coffee grounds. Hence, we need to take the coffee cycle from source where we created it, and now what are you going to do at the end of it? We just dump it in landfill.
Yeah,
that's been a great thing that
you're
Regrounds.
working with a lot of the cafes who are maybe utilizing Reground.
Yep.
You've both been having conversations with them. Have you found that the attitudes have shifted a lot over the past 10, 15 years around that? Because, from the outside, I feel like and every country around the world is different. So like our audiences are listening in are probably going on, like if they're in Germany or the UK or kind of in Thailand, the situation around recycling and waste streams are very different. But it feels like globally there was this really big excitement, 10, 12 years ago where people were like, we want to do better. We want to kind of improve this situation, waste a bit less. And then people seem to get like a little tired of it. Policy really slowed down or got like stonewalled at if we're talking like the Kyoto kind of commitments and packaging and all of the political resistance. Like, how do you keep up your energy or, in having those conversations?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, how do you keep up energy? I think it's like you have to insert.
You drink a lot of coffee.
I don't know if people are paralyzed because of the global climate or the global conversation on climate. I think it's an operational issue because I think it's hard for humans to implement. Like behavior change is really tricky. And I think we had a conversation about sustainability that started when I was starting Reground. We had a landfill bin and we had a recycling bin, and that was it. And that was how it was across every single cafe I was working at. So in 10 years, we've come a long way. There's more awareness. But I think with awareness, if you build up awareness in our communities and you don't pair that with action, that becomes apathy. People don't actually feel very energized for the sustainability conversation, because if you just talk and there is zero action, people actually they lose hope. And fair enough.
Yep.
So I think this is on our operators, it's on our coffee roasters, it's actually on our community that we haven't together brainstormed, innovated, really had that exciting conversation about how do we implement. And I think Single O is a really great example of someone that has just internally said, we're gonna work it out. Yep. Because it is hard in a way, but it's also just like a practical thing. So if you remove that emotional sort of paralysis of, ooh, it's like a lot of talk and I don't know how to do, you're actually just left with, let's do.
Too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and when you can get to the let's figure out who are the right players, who do we need in the room to figure out how to do this? It's obviously a collaboration. It actually kind of empowers that energy. So I think for me, I see that on a day-to-day basis, that I'm always surrounded by the champions. You know, I absolutely see the energy.
No wonder you're having fun.
I know. I mean, it's
the time
fun.
of her life.
I have like that. Why would I be still around 11 years later? I would be completely burnt out. I'm actually so energized for this. And it has never been this like as important as it is today. And to be honest, Dion, Emma, the Single O team are the ones that are energizing me because they're doing. So I think it's because we
You're
haven't...
like the energizing bunnies.
Yeah.
You know, just
Yeah.
pop a
I
little
can tell.
battery
You
pack
are.
in the back. We can go where we need to be. If it's for the climate, to
Ready
save
for
the planet.
4-hour
Yeah.
podcast.
But you know, like that's the gift
Yep.
of energy.
Yeah.
So that's how we keep that conversation going.
Yes, in context, and the situation is that, you know, we've been working with Ninna for 4 years now in Victoria, and obviously built a great relationship with Reground. Yep. So, you know, really supporting and supporting our clients to be part of the Reground program in Melbourne.
Yep.
Ninna reached out and said, you know, it's been a dream of Ninna's to want to bring Reground to New South Wales. There's a great opportunity. So, you know, it's been a couple of years in the making, and you know, we're going to be launching soon Reground in New South Wales, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like, it's so great to hear, like, and you can sense the energy between the two of you about what that feedback loop, right? When you are passionate about something and someone supports and gets on board, and you can keep building. But there is definitely resistance out there as well, right? What I'm kind of interested in, right, is that there's this push and pull of like, there's a need for it, but there's resistance for adoption for different reasons. And I just feel like a lot of people like handball the responsibility on. They kind of say, well, you know, the local council doesn't do this stuff, or it's like
There's
a little bit difficult.
There's a lot of excuses for that, right? So,
So how do you like crack that? How do you kind of go, you know what, it's not as hard, and here are some ideas. Like, how do you kind of get people excited and on board?
You can take it, or I can take it.
Oh, let's play ball then.
Okay. What, do you want a tennis ball or a cricket ball? Or...
You take it away, Dion. How do you get people excited? How do you get a cafe owner?
Well, I think the first thing you got to think about is that, you know, I'm a true believer in you are what you keep, right? Which I always say to people. So, you know, if you're like-minded in what you want to do, Single O clients are like-minded in believing what Single O is, right? So we're a coffee company that's not all things for all people. Right? There's plenty of great roasters out there doing great things, and you know, it's if you want to be, I guess, not different, but if you want to protect the climate and the coffee future of coffee, I mean, there's No Death to Coffee campaign we did many years ago. Yep. You know, looking at climate resilient coffees. You know, if you want to be part of that journey, and you want to, I mean, look, 50% of coffee growing areas might be, you know, climate might kill 50% of coffee growing areas by 2050. Yep. So the big companies need to do something about it, you know, and the little companies need to do something about it. And the only way people can do anything about it is help the climate. So if you're talking about Reground specifically, spent coffee grounds is 30% emissions and things. It's a very easy thing to do. Why dump it in the bin where you can give it to Reground? They can take it to community gardens and support, fertilization and things. There are things you can make out of spent coffee grounds. Not that I'm going to be making my personal soap displays and, little bit of exfoliant, something like that, walk around constantly. But it's a small, just you're doing it anyway.
Yep.
So the barista does, 5 kilos of coffee a day, dumps it in the bin, throws it away. The garbage guy comes next day, picks it up, dumps it out there. You can do the same thing. You can just put it in the bin, the Reground bin.
Yeah, it's almost
and
like...
they take care of it, like the garbage man. So
yeah, it's so interesting how the conversation has become so complex. I really think it's like a response to maybe how hard it is for people to collaborate, whether it's within organizations or between organizations. Because, I will say that cost is obviously a massive topic. We always get asked.
Because people are paying for your service, right?
Yeah,
people
and they are paying
yep.
for their coffee to be collected as part of their landfill stream.
Sure.
So it's really simple in a way. Like if you want to do the right thing, just like make it happen. Like by now we are 11 years in, maybe in the early days we were specialty prices, but no more. In New South Wales, there are now regulations coming in enforcing businesses to divert waste, food waste specifically, out of landfill. So it's going to be mandated, right? But I think what is happening is that we can keep talking about cost and price, just like we keep also talking about the weather. Like these things are just the background, or we can actually figure out how to put the formula together so it works. And that's what we're seeing now. There are actually people out there doing this type of implementation. And the ones that have been doing this keep doing it. It's not like, I tried this out, it's very expensive and now I'm going to drop off. Of course, I will say this. I run a business too. I run probably the hardest model out of any business, like a social enterprise, where we're like, will we survive? But it's also just an excuse. So I think the question is, how do we actually facilitate these conversations within our organizations, whether it's as a cafe, as a roastery, or as a collective even? And how do we distribute the responsibility across many stakeholders so that the burden isn't cupped by one? And I think the awesome thing about what we're doing with Single O and in Melbourne and in Sydney, where we're actually kind of telling everyone to pick up a little bit of the responsibility. The financial burden is shared.
Yeah.
So it's a collective impact we're having.
I love that breakdown because I think that, a lot of people are resistant to these actions because it seems too complicated, or they don't know like what they can do that's like more approachable. And on the complication front, like again, maybe we needed to zoom out at the beginning of this is we're talking about this word sustainability, but what does that even mean? Like, what does it encompass? From your perspective, Ninna, working in the sector, how would you say people can think about sustainability?
Yeah. So sustainability is confusing because it's so broad. It can be anything. It can be the energy you use, so whether it comes from solar panel or the grid. It can be your logistics, your fleet, everything. It can be your operational waste. It can also be how you source your beans. Now I'm talking very specifically hospitality. But it's also like how you do anything. So it's like who you work with in your supply chain. So what I like to do is like make it contextual. Like, am I talking to a cafe? Am I talking to a roastery? Am I talking to a large corporate? The sustainability journey is a journey. This is one really important thing to remember. This is not a destination. Sustainability is a lens that you're operating your business from. So sustainability, when it comes to environmental sustainability, should relate to social sustainability, should relate to financial sustainability. Because when we get really smart with our resources, let's say if we put it in the context of waste, we should actually have less at some point. But we are in a system, we call it the linear economy. We want to transition to a circular economy. And the overarching model right now is linear. So we are up against, we're climbing a mountain, but the tipping point is coming because the movement is growing. But I think it's overwhelming in that sense. Where do I start? So if I was talking to a cafe, I would say, what is the largest waste stream that you have? What's the biggest material that you have? And I will, we've all worked with coffee, and when you're a barista, that is the one thing you produce. coffee grounds.
Yeah.
No one likes going out and knocking those knock tubes out 50 times a day.
No. And if you put that in a landfill bin, if that's what is the standard at the cafe you work at, you will every day be saying to yourself, whether you're aware of it or not, it's like that's contributing to landfill.
Yeah.
Whether it's Reground or another like service, this is the single most important thing to implement in a business, in a hospitality business that produces coffee grounds. Because it's just eliminating, as Dion was saying, as a roaster, 30% of your budget is from this very clean, easy stream that we have solutions for. So
pretty simple, really,
it's pretty simple. So by this point in time, I think it's a bit of an excuse if people aren't doing anything about it.
I mean, we can't control. We obviously sell coffee. We, train our clients, and now it's up to the cafe operator to actually take that and go, all I got to do is
put it in bin B instead of bin A.
Correct.
Yep.
And the rest will be taken care of.
And what about for a roastery though?
Yep.
So we're kind of talking a lot about cafes, and that's downstream from a roastery, which is, part of shared responsibility.
Yep.
But for a roastery operation, how do you kind of go about looking at whether you can make it more sustainable?
I guess, when we first started, we were probably 15 years ago, we put solar panels on our roofs. And when solar was, I guess, not as sophisticated as it is today, we got audited by an independent consultant looking at our emissions, our carbon emissions and things like that. So got a 50-page report. We then decided to go from there to, okay, how do we reduce emissions through our entire supply chain from, on to end product? We obviously have multiple cafes. There's a waste stream there. We didn't use plastic bottles. We don't do single-use cups. We try to, support loaner mug programs. We have standing bars in all our places. We were like, you go to Italy, you sit there and you have an espresso and a croissant and you walk out.
Yep.
You don't walk around with a takeaway cup and dump it in the ground, right? I mean, in the garbage. So we sort of stood for that. We didn't want plastic anything. We wouldn't have plastic juice bottles. So anyone that supplies you with glass or any other material was not single use. We would accept them to single out. We then worked from there to support we went to 1% for the planet because we felt that Patagonia and 1% for the planet was the right, and we still do. It's an amazing model. With that, we recently just got a B Corp certified, which, is obviously, I guess, done a really good thing for companies, both small and big, to try and sort of look at that whole line of its holistic perspective. The next B Corp, which I think is next year, is climate action, and they've taken quite a serious look at the climate action component of B Corp.
So it's evolving.
Which, it's if you can get approval and you get a certification in a few years with the new B Corp stuff, I think, that they're probably the sort of the people that's like, okay, well, we're not saints. No one's a saint, right? Yeah. So it's about, okay, if you can get that, I think you're doing pretty well in the sustainability and the climate situation in how you be a sustainable business.
That journey that Ninna was talking about.
Yeah, I agree. And I will just say that sometimes people will stop there, as in, I've got my certification. I'm certified too with Social Traders, but it's an ongoing daily commitment. And I think action speaks louder than words. And I think that's the shift we're really seeing. So I think it's going to be great because I think there's been a lot of people that just, I'm going to be a B Cert person.
Yeah.
Just to get the stamp of approval.
Yeah.
But I think it needs to come from, you're born and bred with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Baked in. It's baked in, right? Not just sprinkled on top of your operations.
Yeah.
And it's not just like in the background on someone's laptop.
We'll pull that out in 3 years when it's recertification time again. And we didn't get it and something's new come, right? So, I guess that's, we'll see.
So if we were just to kind of give a bit of a framework there. So sustainability, generally it's looking at economic sustainability. So like, even if we look at the definition of just the word, it's like, can you sustain what you want to be doing into the future, right? That's sustainability.
That's right.
And then we're looking economically. Yeah. Is that sustainable?
Yeah.
Socially, right? So this is more about like labor treatment, labor laws.
Absolutely. I mean, buying coffee on farms, we have to know exactly where it comes from.
Yeah.
What are they doing with the farmers? It needs to be ethically. You've been in the coffee game a long time, and full respect, mate. So from the beginning to the end.
Yes.
And the end hasn't been completed from a coffee company's point of view. The end is Reground.
Yeah.
That's the last part of the puzzle to do the full circle.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that's really interesting because I think maybe different parts of the supply chain should take kind of responsibility up and downstream. So like a roaster, you should be looking at that sustainable, like is it socially, economically, and then the last kind of pillar of that is environmental, right? It's if you're looking at your supply chain, and for coffee roasters, obviously a huge part of that is your green coffee supply. Right. Is that supply chain supporting something that is going to last into the future from an economic point of view, from a social point of view, like are people being treated appropriately, and then an environmental point of view? Can they actually keep growing coffee trees?
Which is a big concern.
It is.
And we have
a massive concern, and climate, as you can see in the last 12 months and beyond, what the market has done, the floods, drought, coffee growing regions, farmers, families. It's, we've never seen this and we need to do something about it. So,
and I think the interesting thing is we talk about sea price. We talk about this like the stream kind of how do we import coffee to Australia and what's the conditions are directly impacted by the behaviors that our cafes and our roasters do every single day. And I think that's the loop that is so important for us to connect, that if we want to have this proud storytelling around how we work with origin, how we work with our farmers, the principles they use, whether it's regenerative or fair trade or whatever, if we care about that, we should care about what we do every single day, what our baristas are doing with the coffee grounds, because that is actually power that we have within our businesses. So it's a bit of a joining the dots. And I think to what you were talking to and your experience at Single O in the early days, that theater of here's how we roast. I think the coffee sector has been so amazing at storytelling about the whole supply chain from farm to cup. Like we have amazing people brewing amazing coffee, and then they're okay with throwing coffee into landfill and essentially creating problems that are going to increase prices for everyone, making our businesses potentially unsustainable financially. So I think it's like a call to action that we can be kind and patient, but we also have to agree collectively as a sector whether we are okay with that.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes back to, we were talking, Dion, you mentioned about a few like different certifications like the B Corp certification and activities like 1% for the planet. Yep. But is there a strict criteria for a roastery or a cafe to call, or any business to call themselves sustainable?
I don't know I don't think that is the case. I think, you need to look at, you got solar powered, you need to look at green energy, you need to look at your packaging, the way you transport, electric vehicles, you need to look at, upcycling your cooking oils, you need to have the right bins like Reground. As the new campaign, which will be launching in a couple of weeks is called Giving a Puck.
Yep.
So, that's the...
See what you did there?
Yeah.
And so it's time for everyone to start giving a puck.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And if everyone can give a puck, well then...
Yeah.
Give a puck, everyone. Give a puck.
That's the, the campaign which Single O and Reground have worked together to do. And, it's time for everyone to give a puck.
You can do sustainability. Like I said, it's a journey. So in fact, it's really important that we don't kind of say there is a right way to do it. I will say that what I'm noticing is that a lot of roasters and a lot of cafes focus a lot on things that are essentially very outside of their control, which is coffee cups. Like if I am listening to another conversation, another campaign about packaging or coffee cups, things that you cannot control because people bring it home to their homes and you don't know what they do. You got to focus on what you are doing every single day. So it's a little bit like start with the low-hanging fruits. And if you have not addressed that, as Dion said, solar panels is also really like green energy. Those are things you can get actually subsidies for. You can get help from the government with that. These are like quite easy, actionable things.
Yeah.
But if you haven't addressed the low-hanging fruits in your organization, I do think it is perhaps at the risk of greenwashing if you then start to claim that I'm addressing single-use cups and therefore I'm sustainable. So
talking loudly about stuff that they can't actually change.
Yeah, right. And I think it's like we have to get better at talking about sustainability because we will all have to do it. So I think it's more in the dialogue, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's like having, the cow milk, the oat milk.
Yeah.
Just drink black coffee, support the farmers, great singles.
and ask
Filter
for
coffee
help.
is a great thing, right?
It is.
For help.
It is.
Ask for help because, there are other people that are doing it.
Yep.
Like there are solutions now. I think even in other places, not just in Australia, there will be solutions to these issues. There will be local solutions, which is even more exciting because, every region will have their own kind of, the energy is in a different place.
Solutions.
Yeah, but I think actually we need to have dialogue around what does sustainability mean to me so we can also start to sort of get out of that rigid sort of binary headspace of like either I'm doing it or I don't. Like it's a journey.
I can see it's on a journey. But maybe let's talk about like those low hanging fruit, right? Like if we were talking, we've got cafes and we've got roasteries. Yep. Like I think, Dion, when you were talking about some of the things that you addressed as a roaster, right, as a roasting business, you were talking a lot about looking at your emissions.
Yep.
You were talking about looking at your waste streams outside of, I guess, just general emissions and kind of energy usage.
Yep. So, I think, so we've looked at all those things. I mean, obviously, roasters roast coffee, produce chaff.
Yep.
So chaff is I guess if anyone doesn't know what chaff is, a husk, skin that comes off the roasting, the end of the roast from the bean. We recently just created a lager with the chaff. Nice. And we called it Loopy Lager. So that was a cool creative concept. It's like, we got a lot of chaff here and we had a brewery, beer fontaine around the corner. Yep. So we basically made us beer using chaff. So chaff, then probably my accent's not the best, mate. So, and then we get a couple of garden groups that come and actually take the chaff away every week from the roastery, chickens, farms and things like that. So there's that's the chaff stuff. Okay, well, we have solar panels. Okay, so then how do we deliver? We're delivering electric vehicles. We'll be delivering electric vehicles in Melbourne, which we just started doing. And so, obviously, and then we're looking at our cafe side. We created the parachutes, which is the drip coffee bags, right? Yep. So we bought a machine. We're the first to bring it into the country a long time back when I saw this in Japan and I thought this is going to be cool.
Yep.
And put really good coffee in these drip bags. But the biggest problem with that is they're nylon.
And single serve packaging, right?
Well, hold on a second. They're single serve packaging, but this is how we overcame that.
Okay.
Right? We thought, single serve packaging is not good. We know that. Great product, but all the packets are made from nylon. We're the only people in the country and one of the only few in the world that have a fully home compostable made from paper.
Like the
outside,
the filter bag
and
itself?
the filter bag and the things are
cool.
paper. If you took all the people's parachutes or drip bags right now, they're all made from nylon except ours.
Okay.
So we wouldn't put a product out, and we've struggled with that based on doesn't pour quick enough. It's blocked. The machine doesn't seal it because it's a different material. Plastic burns, easier to seal.
Melts together.
Correct. So we've had, issues with that. But we had to do that. If we're going to put a product out, then it needs to be from a sustainable point of view. Otherwise, you can't do the product, which is the stupidest monetary decision, but that's the heart and soul of Single Art.
Yeah.
I think that process that you're describing there is exactly what we need more people to do. The due diligence of actually considering what happens at end of life. This is one of the biggest things with the packaging, the coffee bags, because we've been around sort of, is it paper, plastic? Is it the mixed materials? What is happening? And I know, because we have been a part of this conversation, that not a lot of people that put a lot of packaging out actually consulted with the recyclers.
No.
Like it is one conversation, So
it's a big conversation.
It's a massive conversation.
But maybe not for this situation because it's hours and days and weeks. Talking about how many different films you can get. Yep. Then there's people approve it, then they don't approve it.
I guess
that's the due diligence you've got to do,
yeah,
I think.
Yeah.
And I think when you start to practice that, it will also start to make sense financially or from a business perspective, because then you can proudly talk about sustainability and then you can bring it into a narrative that you talk to your customers about and you can kind of identify around it. And can I say, I speak to a lot of coffee drinkers and they want to drink coffee at cafes and from roasters that are doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So there is also a gap there that maybe cafes and roasters don't understand that there is actually a very large percentage of the population that want to support environmentally savvy businesses. Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that maybe not all of the coffee businesses are aware of, but there was actually a big Deloitte study that came out last year that kind of basically, I'm probably misquoting the exact numbers here, but I think it was about that 70% of the respondents said that their impression of how sustainable a coffee business was would influence their purchasing decision. Right? They'll choose this brand over that brand if it feels like it's more sustainable. And then I think
If it feels like it's more sustainable.
Well, let's get into that. But I think the other part of that data was it was something around the 20% mark or 20 to 30% mark of those respondents. No, 20 or 30% of that mark said that they would pay 5 to 10% more for that. So they will pay a premium. It's only a small premium, not all of the market, but it's an increasing trend, especially amongst millennials and Gen Z. And so this is kind of like understanding that there is that decision-making and financial, audience kind of positive, hopefully is a reassurance for people to say, I'm going to leap into this because people actually want it.
That's why I talk about tipping point. And I deal with a lot of coffee roasters, none as engaging as the single team, honestly. They've been absolutely...
Look at you guys.
Well, they've put their money where their mouth is, right? They're like really putting some cash into this. So sometimes we need the first movers to kind of pave the way for the rest. But the tipping point is coming. There will be a point where we'll have many roasters offering or building in sustainability to their operations. This may or may not be visible to the coffee drinker. It should be. So that's why we need to practice having this conversation in a fun way so they can get engaged. But we'll have a tipping point. And all of a sudden, the coffee sector will be sustainable because we simply have to because of climate. But I also think it's a really golden opportunity to address some of that kind of overarching issues of coffee prices, the cost of a coffee. We can, as we're doing that kind of hard work, we can actually build in sustainability on all of the triple bottom line focus areas, right? So and that's a conversation that the coffee drinker will actually support to those numbers, right? They'll be okay with that.
Yep.
It's just because we never seem to bridge the gap with the coffee drinker in a fun way on price. So we can say we're going to do something like putting up the price.
Yeah.
But we're also going to do it because we care about the coffee beans and we want to keep them alive forever.
So we're building into the future. I mean, I think if we were to summarize that for people, it's like sustainability needs to happen because it has to happen, right? There's increasing pressures that if we don't make it sustainable, we won't have coffee to roast. It makes good business sense in terms of the financials and also, as we're saying, the consumer demand. So it's important because there's an increasing demand from coffee drinkers for this kind of corporate responsibility or just kind of responsible operating as a citizen of the world. And then I think as well that, as you're saying, sustainability has this really great opportunity to talk about a broader depth than just a product. That move for specialty coffee, I think, is so interesting because, back when we started out in coffee in the early 2000s, it was so different because it was such a jump from dark roasted, imported sale stuff to anything fresh and traceable and transparent. But now you can go and get pretty delicious coffee, pretty, similar stories in a lot of places. But if you're actually walking the walk with sustainability initiatives, there's, as you said, the values that it will attract like-minded businesses and customers.
Your client base, and absolutely, and their customers, right?
That's going to be the difference between
a good coffee roaster and a great coffee roaster.
Correct.
Good to great. Love that book. We're kind of looping back here, but to statement, is there a key sustainability certification? Because it feels like everyone is saying, we're sustainable, we're doing great things. But is it just a whole heap of greenwashing?
It can be, yeah. Even B Corp, I think. I have stopped trusting. I deal with a lot of businesses, not just in the coffee industry, that are certified and
B Corp.
As B Corp and other certifications. But I think B Corp is the main one. And I will say, it will come down to action. So you actually got to demonstrate, because at this point in time, if you're going to tell me that you're sustainable, but you cannot show me or you don't want to show me, then I will not believe you. And I think that's That's actually the best approach for everyone, coffee drinkers, business operators, everyone. You should be able to see and touch sustainability.
And so if you're a cafe owner and you're looking for a supplier and you're like, I want to find someone who is doing sustainable work as a roaster, what should you be looking for? What should you be asking them to show you to get that sense?
Can I see your certificate, please?
Exactly. But that's what I'm saying. It's not out there. It's difficult to navigate.
Exactly.
I guess you got to see what they've done over their entire history, right? If companies are going to start 20 years ago and just all of a sudden the last 2 years they've got a few stamps on their books, you sort of know that's not a real, true, passionate company that really is about sustainability. They're doing it for the marketing and the creativity. It's like, hey, we're sustainable too. Yeah, that's great. You can come buy a coffee or whatever the case may be. It needs to be built in you. You need to show that for your entire life cycle of your company. And you've got to be doing things that not like I'm using the new recycled coffee bag or I'm using the new recycled plant-based coffee cup or hey, I've changed to this plastic milk bottle or, it's just random things that you run through your business. It's got to be through your culture, your people. There's no one certificate you're going to get. B Corp in this world is probably the best you can get. Not perfect, but it makes you look through the process of your business.
I look at B Corp. I think it's important, by the way, because it's a direction. It's a starting point. If you're asking, how do I get into this work?
Framework.
It's a framework. Right. So it's not bad to be certified. It's just that it calls you to do more. And I think the only way is to have conversations. If I was looking for a coffee supplier, I'd be like, so tell me about all the practice that you've done and show me, do site visits, actually go and care about. Yeah.
And how do you kind of create a culture in your business or maybe even transition? I mean, Dion, Single has been, as you said, from the day dot was, a lot of these things were culturally embedded. Yep. But let's say you're a business that wants to really nurture that and maybe make a transition. You're like, I've learned more. I understand the implication. I want to be part of a solution here. And as we're saying, you need to have that baked into your business, not just some marketing PR dust spritzed over the top.
Marketing sprinkle. Yeah.
It's like what's the equivalent of the liquid nitrogen cold ice in something? It's like, it doesn't make it taste any different, but boy, does that look amazing. The signature drink with dry ice, done. So you want to build it into the culture of your business. Like, how do you go about doing that? How do you keep yourself honest, I guess, or kind of keep?
I think it's
keep
a direct relationship to financial.
Okay, what does that mean?
You challenge everything, right? Single generally challenges everything, right? We challenged how to get milk bottles into making the juggler system. We challenged how to get batch brew making the tap system, right? We challenged the the parachute nylon, and we found a company that can make this paper parachute, the drip bag, right? Loaner mugs, no death to coffee, which you're aware of when we bought Steinmeier.
Tell us about the No Death for Coffee
Well,
program.
No Death to Coffee was, 10 years ago when we bought a climate resilient. We were the first people to bring in Steinmeier into the country with World Coffee Research. And I even remember we went to Byron Bay and we planted some of the varieties in Nimbin area and stuff like that. And talking to the researchers and the universities there, because I guess the final thing is that coffee is going to cause us, climate is going to kill coffee. So, we went out there and said, well, we need to come up with varieties that can be climate resilient, that can produce beautiful cup coffee scores. And, so those are the things that we went out to do.
So how does that become financial?
Some of the decisions have a direct relationship to financial purely because you spend a lot of money researching. Right? You spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of people's hours. These companies are doing that. We should just do the same.
Yep.
You can't do that
understanding.
Without, because X, Y, and Z's doing that, well, that seems like they've done their research. And you can't run a sustainable business thinking that way. So, Single is always like, they zig, we zag. Someone did this, there must be a better way to do that. There might not be, but you got to go down that rabbit warren to find out. That takes time, people, energy, money. When you get to that stage, it's like, well, this is the best solution. It's not perfect, but it's the best solution for what this problem is.
I actually think sustainability could be framed through or replaced by innovation.
I think so. I think it's somewhat related. So you got to innovate because you just got to not accept that that's the norm.
Status quo.
Correct.
Yeah.
There's a cost to innovation, right? But we in a normal kind of, if that was purely for financial reasons, you're happy to absorb that research cost. But if it's in the name of sustainability, apparently we can't, or it's harder. And I think you guys are just demonstrating that there's a lot of innovation that have come from essentially pairing the two.
And it sounds to me like there are some companies like yourselves that say, okay, we're going to throw in and go, we're going to do the innovation, we're going to do the research and create new research, new knowledge, right, to create solutions. Not all companies are going to be in that space, right? They might not have the resources. So it seems to me what we're also saying...
I don't have the resources either, but I'm just doing it.
You're just like...
Okay. I'm still eating beans and bread.
Yeah, okay. Keeping it real. But hey, he is composting the parachutes.
Well, I think the important thing, going back to giving a puck campaign with Reground is everyone can do that. It's not going to cost people. Yes. They're doing that already. Their grounds are going into the landfill bins. They're paying for the weight of those bins anyway. So all you're doing is transferring the weight of those bins to the Reground bin.
Yep.
And you're getting a reduction in 30% from a roaster to the cafe and for the cafe operator as well, right?
Yep.
So
I think that's exactly right. If you don't want to put the money into being a trailblazer, like Single O has done and demonstrated, then you can just adapt to the innovation that comes from organizations like you guys. I think the juggler is another great example that has benefited many, many businesses. So
what is the juggler? Sorry?
The milk dispenser unit.
Milk dispensing unit we created, it basically takes bladders, 10-litre bladders, and dispenses milk. There's no 80% waste reduction. We've offset over 100 million bottles of plastic over the life cycle. And so, it's reducing carbon footprints, emissions, better workflow, and trying to do something that everyone just took the milk bottle and poured it in the jug.
Cartons, and then the plastic
plastic just dumps on the ground. I remember you used to put the thing in and turn the steam on and to make it smaller because you could only fit a certain amount in the crate, right? And the milkman used to come and there was this plastic everywhere. And it's like, you know what? Surely there's a better way. I was thinking of just walking a cow in and shoving an udder through the machine.
Honestly, if I'd turned up to a single origin in Surrey Hills,
probably would have.
I wouldn't have been surprised. I wouldn't have been surprised. What's happening? Oh, there's just a cow. So, just bring your cup a little bit closer while
that was that started with literally going to the farm and a cow and putting milk in a bucket in a bag, tube.
And that's the good thing about the people that are putting sustainability at the center. They don't mind sharing. And I think, I don't know, maybe this is a question for you, Ben. How can we learn from each other? How can we collaborate rather than, I don't know, create unique solutions that might not be the best? What do you think?
I think it's a great point. I think there's a real problem or a real gap in our industry for those pre-competitive spaces to kind of gather. I just don't think that we have the clarity, and it might be different for different markets around the world and different regions where there's more of a collaborative sense. But I think that people are so focused on our brand competing with your brand and who gets a leg up. And there aren't those spaces that are, before we get to brand versus brand or business versus business, let's look at the things that are industry-wide that are affecting us all and that we can rise the tide for all boats and kind of make, because this is, as we said about specialty coffee or coffee in general, being a sustainable thing that we can all continue to keep doing. And that needs kind of collective action.
Absolutely.
And as you said, we've got these resources to share. I guess it was kind of coming back to my point about if you don't have the money to invest in being a trailblazer and innovating yourself, the thing that you do have in your power is the ability to ask a lot of questions and build your knowledge. Asking, okay, how much impact is this actually having? Is talking about takeaway cups something I can control? This person says their cup is compostable. Oh, but that only means it's commercially compostable in a specialized facility that there is actually none in my entire country to be able to do that. Yeah. So in fact, it's not being composted at all. And so it's asking those questions, being empowered to kind of and empowered and required to build your own knowledge, right? Which doesn't cost you anything except some time and then going out to people like yourselves and kind of who are knowledgeable, questioning it and going, does this make sense? And then what I'd love for us to do is like, if there were two things that you would recommend for like, let's say just coffee roasters, that you would say, what are the low-hanging fruit? What are like two things that you'd say that they should look at to immediately become more sustainable, or at least to start on that journey, as you said?
I don't want to mention the cup thing.
Okay.
Single-use cups are a destruction of the coffee industry.
Nice. So stop using single-use cups?
I mean, they probably stop selling single-use cups.
Okay.
People will find their way to get their coffee.
Yep.
It's like anything, right? Like, I don't know, Western Australia or something bans plastic bags in the supermarkets.
Yes.
You know, it's like you walk in, it's like, sorry, you got your bag. Woolworths did that. Coles, whatever, you know?
Yeah,
Talk about supermarkets, that's another whole story altogether. We just, as humans, they just slowly channeled us, and that's the norm now.
Yep.
I just get my bag in my boot. My boot looks like, because it's got 4,000 bags in it, right? But I used to take my bag out and go, and it's like, okay, I got 10 bags, and if you need to buy an extra one, it's the paper bag.
Yep.
They changed that over the last 5+ years, and we didn't even react. It was ridiculous. And then like all of a sudden, like you're not even thinking about it now, right?
Yep.
So just take the single-use cups and destroy them.
Yep. So
right?
Don't facilitate things that continue unsustainable practices, and then maybe make it a little easier to find an alternative, right?
So there are alternatives. I mean, there's Keep cups, there's Husky cups, there's this cup. There's plenty of reusable cups. Go to your grandmother of 88 and grab some of our old mugs. I mean, in Single O, we've got a whole rack. Carriageworks Farmers Markets, which we do every Saturday morning, we have just a whole box of reusable cups that people walk around the markets and then dump it down. There's a cost to that. I need to hire a dishwashing person to wash the cups and make sure that they're there. But I prefer to do that than destroy the planet and destroy the future of coffee.
Right. Do you have a tip, Ninna?
Yeah, I would suggest doing what Single O did, which is your accounting done. Like get your
an audit.
An audit. Audit, where are you leaking emissions? Because that's going to actually give you the low-hanging fruits, whether they're going to require a bit of like nutting out how to implement logistics and transport. And then I think actually coffee grounds if you're a roaster, you've just got to get it done.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the overwhelming thing for both a roaster and a cafe is just deal with those coffee grounds. 30% of the emissions?
Correct. 30%. And it's like we can no longer accept that a coffee that is being served and we've put so much love into it is just being put into a hole in the ground, contributing to emissions.
Well, and I think
quality. It's not quality.
And this is the thing that I think a lot of people maybe don't have quite a clear picture on, is that organic matter that goes into a waste pit, into your general rubbish, actually, because of the lack of oxygen, creates methane, right? It's in an anaerobic environment. Yep. It doesn't break down well, and it actually creates negative methane emissions.
It is the single worst material to end in landfill. Yep. And it's one of the top 3 of climate actions that are going to, organic waste, but coffee grounds are what comes out of our businesses, right? So it's on the top 3 climate actions that will reduce our global emissions. So it has to be a priority. It must be done.
And what about for a cafe operator listening? We've talked about coffee grinds. Are there any other, like one key thing that you would say you should look into this to make your business more sustainable?
Yeah. Get Reground in there and get rid of coffee grounds.
1-800 Ninna at Reground.
1-800 Single O Reground.
Okay, here's my take. You can call up Single O. You can call up Common Folk. You can call up some other roasters that are doing this, what we call product stewardship. They pay for your ground coffee to be taken away.
They're picking up the bill.
It's a free. They're picking up the bill for you. This is in who do you buy beans from? So there is actually a couple of suppliers, roasters that can help you. Yeah. So do yourself a favor, save some money and save the planet.
So that's, give a puck.
Get rid of single-use cups. Start to give a puck.
Yep.
Upcycle your oils. Get a juggler and make great coffee.
And make great coffee. And it kind of helps us make more great coffee and to have sustainable businesses, right? Like, because we're talking about waste streams here as well. Yep. So not having stuff that you're you're just overusing, like food waste as well is another thing with cafes.
Absolutely. Yeah. The launch of Giving a Puck coming up, and the menu is being created. It's basically a upcycled menu. It's sort of like a banana skin, bacon and egg, like using banana skins for bacon, trying to really flip the whole idea of
interesting.
Everything should be upcycled.
Yep.
All right.
Well, let's talk about this. We've mentioned Reground. We've mentioned Give a Puck, which is a campaign that you're about to launch. But let's talk about it, because this is quite an exciting movement and hopefully a positive signal of the growing worldwide expansion of Reground. So Reground has been doing its ground coffee collection, and you've been doing some soft plastics collection as well in Melbourne since your foundation.
11 years.
And now you're formally expanding into a whole new city.
About time.
Yes.
I might say.
Some have
about time. Big
demand. And Singalo are here because they're a key partner in launching this. And so tell us about the program of Give a Puck. What's the campaign there?
Great. Well, Give a Puck is to empower our baristas to essentially be proud of serving coffees again. You know, great flavor, but also good feeling about protecting planet. We will work with 135 cafes across the Singalo network. Yeah, we are going to be diverting 85 million cups of coffee, the equivalent in coffee grounds, over 3 years together. This is massive.
That's pretty amazing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think what I'm really excited about is just this culture shift and the system change that we're going to be able to achieve together.
Yeah, I think people, when we've gone out to speak to our clients, people have been waiting for it. You're all what you keep, as I said. They're like-minded clients. They love what Singalo does from a sustainability point of view. And it's like, wow, I went to actually a non-Singalo client the other day, and he started to nearly cry. It's like the best thing that's ever happened. It's this is amazing. Like, I've been waiting for this my whole life. This beautiful product, and it goes into the rubbish. So very passionate people about knowing that they're doing the right thing at the end of the day. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's amazing. So launching into Sydney, into a whole new area with such a physical operation is quite difficult, right? Like, you've got bins, you've got collection vans, you've got composting facilities. How are you bringing all that together?
One correction, we don't work with compost facilities. We work with individual gardens and home gardeners. So there is no kind of multinational business we're dealing with. This is community action, right? That's the specialty of our model. And so that is one thing that is really hard. We have to do that community outreach and build awareness in the community. But I think the financial modeling and really kind of learning how to work together as well. Like, we're two separate businesses and we have teams that are now like literally in each other's offices.
Literally, I came there the other day and I was like, who are you guys?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we're from Reground. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So are you sitting in this area? It's like, yeah. It's like, okay, great. I'm down.
Like, that's my seat.
Yeah, it's like, well, they were sitting in the marketing side. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And how long are you staying here for? It's like, as long as we need.
I think that is one of the things that, we don't really understand as businesses, how to collaborate and meaningfully kind of integrate, because we are still separate organizations.
Yeah.
But so we're learning. And I think, again, I don't know if we've talked enough about this, but in the circular economy, in the next economy that we will be existing in, all of us, because if the future is not circular, there is no future. Let's just be very honest about that. The way we do business in the circular economy is like working with friends. So it's going to feel like this. It's like, hey, my office is open door, Of course, we have to respect each other and
I did ask them if they're going to pay the rent.
Yeah.
They just looked at me
I heard
and laughed.
that, Dion.
I just wanted to see how far I could push them.
Look, they're just leveraging existing infrastructure of those spare desks. It's very sustainable.
Maybe one day your team will work out of my office. Yeah. But, it's like, this is also how we don't use other more resources, right? Like, we can kind of share. That's a part of the being environmentally friendly. Like, we can share and we can learn from each other. We can knowledge share. We can share contacts, like businesses. We can actually do sales for each other. Like, this is the
fun.
One
of a great relationship, and it's got a great cause for it.
Correct.
It's
not separate. So it's very unique, and I think it's
been fun. Been a ride, and it's going to get funner because in a couple of weeks' time when it launches and it starts happening, Ninna's like shaking. But got a great team and really good people that really care about what they do, and we've got a great client base in New South Wales that is super excited to bring it on. So that'll expand out to other clients, other roasters, and other people and stuff like that over. And then we're going to expand into different regions of New South Wales further out. You know, it's Sydney at the moment within a 30 kilometre radius, which is pretty far. And then, you know, I've got clients in Wollongong and Batemans Bay, and it's like, oh, what about us? It's like, well, we'll get there. All right. It needs to slowly
and the
expand.
network.
Yeah.
And I think because for Reground, this is the first time we are moving outside of Melbourne. Massive. This is the biggest thing that has happened for Reground since the day we started. So it's also like, will the model work in another place? Or is it just Melbourne that wants to do good things about sustainability in coffee? But once we do it in Sydney, we'll take it to Perth, we'll take it to Brisbane, we'll take it, and I think in the circular economy, we'll just share. So maybe people from overseas can also get involved once we know that the model works. Yeah. So
it's massive, guys, and congratulations. It's such an exciting move that both of you are driving there.
Yes, and I just want to say we could not do it with the community of cafes. If we didn't have them, we wouldn't be able to do this work.
Yeah. And so I guess that's kind of a great point, is that for our listeners who are dialing in not from Melbourne, Sydney, or even Australia, what are some ways that if they were inspired by all of this talk about both Reground and the activity and then roasters picking that up, how could they kind of maybe not get involved with what you're doing, but look for who are the people nearby that they could, or replicating some of these activities?
Yeah, good question. I think Ninna probably could answer that more than I could. I think there are, in most countries, you'll probably answer it better than I would, but there are people doing similar things, not specific to Reground, but we use, I think, Mallow in Brisbane. We've been using Mallow there since day one when we opened up our Queensland distribution.
And what are they doing?
The miniaturized Reground, right?
Yep.
Well, they pick up Mallow bins, and once a week they pick up these buckets and they take it to community gardens. Small business. Reground's obviously a much larger in Mallow. We were looking for someone like Reground in Brisbane because we do this wherever we are, right? So, and Reground was not there. So we use Mallow, but it's a very small, family-run little thing that we know that the grounds are going somewhere. That's a personal thing from Single O, right?
I will say it's about knowledge sharing, and that's the thing that is so special about Dion's team and my team. We will definitely share. It's like, this is not trademarked.
Just phone 1-800 Single O Reground, and there'll be a hotline for anyone.
It's not trademarked, but there's a 1-800
trademark.
There is always help,
and we have a hotline, a helpline, and any line you want to call, I'll be available to talk. So Ninna
will answer the phone
anywhere in the world to give some advice on whatever you guys need in trying to work it out.
I think I got an email from someone in Jakarta in Indonesia, and I think I was just there as well. And there is a time where the focus will shift, and it's like, great, we've got majority sorted here. Let's help others get moving, because sometimes it's literally just like that transfer of energy.
Yes. Yeah.
And support.
There are people out there around the world that are like-minded.
Yeah. So
they
look around.
Need to reach out or see this podcast, which will be great.
Yeah.
And try and think about, wow, there's an opportunity in my country or my city that I can do this for the cafe industry.
Yep. So
and then it's about reach out.
Yeah, look for those kind of collection programs. Look for, local garden communities who might want to kind of make use of those things. Follow, obviously, Reground and check out what they're doing and understand the model and kind of what's there. But I think there's a lot of things from if we're talking broad sustainability initiatives, if you're interested in pursuing those, take some of these tips of like looking at your waste streams, looking at your emissions, finding out where are things kind of being utilized and then being thrown out. And then what are the local solutions in your communities who might already have systems that you could tap into for recycling, composting, alternative packaging, alternative non-single-use cups, all of those things.
Yep.
Yeah. There are so much community action, and it's all about, if you're a business and you have the power to empower community, focus on who is right in front of you. Like it's a fun vibe to be in community and social enterprise, let's say, or just like tap into
And it's only going to get
champions.
funner.
Not everything has to be fun, but it makes life better.
It should be fun. It should be fun. And it's definitely feeling pretty fun in here. It's kind of getting a little warm. I'm getting all flushed.
Oh, you're
and
getting all
heated.
flushed. That's
I
great.
think,
Yeah.
I think this might be time for a little hot take with two sugars. There we go.
Love this week, Benny Boys on the segues.
That's it.
Yeah.
I got it going in.
Oh, you got to go in.
So this is our fun little spicy hot take segment. Dion, you want to lead us off with
A hot take?
Yeah,
Or is that the
please.
hot cake?
Well, if you like a hot cake, I mean, we
Hot
each other
cake?
here. A little hot.
Is it specialty if it's not upcycled?
Ooh, okay. Interesting statement. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is we roast, we sauce, we roast, we grind, we craft, we dose, we yield, we do all that stuff. And at the end, we actually throw it in landfill. So, if you're going to be a specialty coffee business and you want to give the love to the coffee from beginning to end, you need the full cycle. You need to be circular. And therefore, give a puck.
Give a puck. So it's at the heart of kind of what you feel for specialty coffee is that it's kind of considerate of the whole process and not just once you serve the cup, but it's kind of that circular life cycle.
Absolutely. Yeah. You've got to finish the loop.
I don't even know if that's spicy. It's just do it. Just do
It's
it.
like Nike. Just do it.
Just do it. Just give a puck.
And that's not sponsored by Nike, by the way. So.
Nice.
Just give a puck.
Well, Ninna, you've been working in the sustainability and waste sector for a long time.
Yep.
You got a spicy hot take for us?
Yeah, I do. Don't know if too spicy. Cafés and roasteries generally don't care about the planet.
Ooh. That's it. It's the horn time because that is spicy. Really? You don't think they care?
If you care, you'll feel fine because I'm not talking about you. But no, it's the truth. We have 75,000 tonne of ground coffee going to landfill every single year in Australia.
Not good.
Nah, it's not good.
Not yay for
And
specialty.
we're doing a lot.
Yep.
But there are lots of cafes and roasteries out there that are not doing their bit. And if you don't do that, I'm going to just tell you right now that you're not doing enough for planet and for the coffee bean, and the prices will go up and maybe you will be out of business. So get started. Tomorrow is too late. So do it today.
Oh, you've heard it. Nina's calling you out. You've got a guilty conscience? Get on it. Get fixing this stuff.
This is the first time I'm kind of doing that. But I think I've been sitting around just waiting patiently for 11 years and I'm done.
I can tell. You're fired up.
Yeah.
But you've got a solution as well.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
there
the
is-
thing is...
Well,
There
that's
is a
the problem.
solution.
Yeah, that's the problem. I was listening to a podcast the other day and someone was like, yeah, there's so many coffee grounds out there and if only there was a solution for it. This is a coffee show. And it's like, this is an Australian coffee show.
Yeah.
Like Melbourne has and Sydney now will have
Solution.
a solution. So if you are in coffee and you're still waiting for that solution, there's a gap there in knowledge.
Step up, take responsibility. Don't wait for it to be handed to you. Do the bare minimum basic of saying, Googling, where can I take
Go
it?
to
How
Google.
low? Help me.
Yes.
And
I'm
guess
sure.
what? There's a solution there.
And the cost is not that much more than landfill. It might even be on par. It might even be cheaper because the landfill prices are going up.
Correct.
So there is no financial reason for not doing the right thing anymore.
Time to give a puck.
Time to
Give
give a
a
puck.
puck.
I love it. Well, my spicy hot take is that the coffee businesses, roasters or cafes who are just doing a little bit of sprinkling greenwashing on top and are not walking the walk, a ticking time bomb, and their business will fall over soon.
Yes.
Well said.
That's it.
Mic drop.
Yeah. It's not baked in, it's not real, and you are just like spruiking out some PR messages about sustainability, I think it's going to be like an uphill battle because it's not genuine for you. You're just like pushing it. B, consumers are not dumb. They know.
Exactly.
And the more and more that genuine businesses are offering real solutions, you're going to become very apparent that all you're doing is just doing a little rubber stamp. So be authentic with it, bake it into the business. Yeah. And, it's going to be better for your business, but also better for everyone else.
Good one, Ben.
All right, great. Well, we do also like, aside from all these spiciness, to share a little bit of the love. We're all about the love. I know, Dion, sometimes, you like the spicy more than the love.
Yeah, I'm a spicy man. I'm not a love man, but I do give love when I need it.
Well, maybe we'll start with Nina first.
Okay.
Then. This is our little segment here.
I specialize in love.
This is a little shout out. Is there someone in the coffee industry, or maybe not in the coffee industry, that you think deserves a little bit more praise, that you want to shout out to and get everyone following them?
Yeah. Okay. I want to shout out the doers. And so I would like to say Seven Seeds, Padre, and Loaf of Bread. They did fantastic work 11 years ago when committing to doing this, getting us started. We wouldn't be here without them. So they're still doing it today. So they've just, they just knew that this was the right thing to do. And that's why they're still so great. And then I want to shout out Singular Common Folk for being absolute trailblazers in baking it into the system, not just to their business model. It will actually be a whole system change. It's hard work because we're in the detail. So it's definitely not just like a quick fix. And yeah, I think that's...
I love it. Big props to those folks.
Yes.
Dion, you want to share the love anywhere?
I want to shout out a few people that have spent a lot of time, specifically Nina, Mike, my CEO, my wife, Emma, who drives this to become what it is. And you know that. The whole of Single O team, the whole of Reground team. And that's really, there's plenty of people I can shout out in the world. There's clients I could shout out. I mean, one of the biggest, I would say probably the truest group of guys that I guess as a client that have done something about sustainability, talking about that, is the Three Blue Ducks. So Andy, Daz, and the guys, Chris O, and I've known them since they started 15 years ago. They were the first people to buy a juggler for their cafe.
A restaurant cafe,
upcycling, the farm, Byron Bay. They were the first people to put a juggler in their shop, right, in Bronte when they first started. And everything they do is about upcycling, sustainability. I mean, so much to say, taking spent coffee grounds and making kombucha out of it, or meat rubs and things for their farm. So when you're talking about a shout out from a restaurant cafe client, I would say Three Blue Ducks, Andy Allen and the team have been real cafe operators that cared. But
awesome.
That's my shout out.
I love it. We asked for one shout out, say he doesn't do too much love, and then he's just like, everyone. I love everyone.
You know what? I'm a nice guy, and I do have a lot of love inside me. It just takes a long time to come out.
We won't listen to what all the others are saying.
I'm like a fungus. I grow on you over time.
It's a very composty kind of analogy we're going here.
That is very composty.
Well, we've been talking a lot about worms and compost, mate. So waste streams, worms and compost. There was a full circle thinking there. It was a bit connection.
There was a segue. Well, look, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Dion, it's been so great to have your perspective on this. I hope all of our audience, I'm sure they've taken a lot from understanding and stepping up to the plate, getting onto it. And for everyone listening along to the podcast, thank you so much. We're putting in a lot of effort to bring these conversations to you and make them better and better. So let us know if you've got any questions or ideas about who we should get on the podcast after this. You can email us at hello@itsjustcoffeepod.com.
Hello at.
It's a hello at. Thank you, Liam, producer here, just making sure I don't drop the ball too much. hello@itsjustcoffeepod.com, or drop us a DM on social media. Let us know what you reckon. Hit the subscribe button. Share this out. Help use this episode. Spread the word, right?
Spread the word.
Spread the love. And
the climate action.
Spread the climate action. Yeah. Nina, if people are keen to know a little bit more about Reground or the new campaign that's happening, where can they find you on the lines?
Website?
Yes, which is?
Reground.com.au.
Perfect.
Is it? Yeah. Instagram?
Singleo.com.au. We'll have a link to the page and the website. So this is all being built over the next 2 weeks and will be launched. It'll be in the media and people will see it. There's a big mayor thing, campaign.
Nice.
So, there's T-shirts, stickers, things going out there. So it's, it's super exciting and we look forward to sharing it with everyone.
Awesome. So follow along for the journey as these guys kind of help launch some more of this in Sydney. And if you've got any other people doing this around the world, or you've got questions about this, drop us a mention in the socials as well. We'd love to hear what else is happening globally and in the coffee industry in different segments. Thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Hey.